What is going on, everyone, and welcome to today's video. I've been selling real estate in the city of Toronto for 8+ years, and I know we're a small, tiny YouTube channel, really, and we're new, but that doesn't change the fact that over the course of those years, we've helped hundreds of people buy, sell, invest in real estate in and around the city. And in this video, I hope to illuminate and shed some light on things that might be very valuable to you and save you a lot of money in the long run. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first one that I'm talking about is missing out on the right property. If you're working with an agent, you need to be certain that they have tools, mechanisms, systems, processes to make sure that you don't miss out on the right house. Where are they actually finding these properties for you though? So the MLS is obviously going to be the #1 place with the most options, and it's critical to make sure that they have the search criteria right and down pat from the start, and they'll set you up on an automated prospect match so that new listings within your criteria hit your inbox every single day. And that's a way of not missing anything. But it's more tricky than that. There are a lot more opportunities out there than only what's on the MLS. I'm talking about exclusive listings, assignment listings, things that are only on individual Facebook groups, things that only other realtors have access to in their exclusive databases. There's also such thing as not being ready at the right time. So let's say the right house does hit the market, but you don't have your deposit together, or you don't have your pre-qualification in order, or maybe you're under contract for another house and it's maybe conditional on financing or inspection. Yes, it's all well and good to say just throw an offer, put some conditions, if it gets accepted it's all good, but if that deal doesn't go through, it takes you weeks to get your deposit back, and by that time, the right house might have come and gone on the market, and you might miss an opportunity, so you have to be very careful about these things. The second mistake that people make is overpaying on your property. You won't believe how common this is. The pains of overpaying are numerous, so if you pay more for a property than what the bank appraises it for, then they're only going to write a mortgage for the amount they appraised it for, and you're going to have to cover the difference in cash. I've seen people who really struggled scrambling, getting last-minute emergency help from their family, or taking out another loan just to make a home purchase work. You do not want to be in that situation, trust me. Another thing to be conscious of not to overpay is being aware of a property's unique features. Is it on heritage land, for example? What are its zoning, bylaws, and restrictions? Maybe some people haven't bought it because there's no capability of putting in a basement rental for extra income. Maybe people haven't bought it because they know something about the wear and tear that you don't know. It's important to know the unique features of this specific property, and there are a lot of things in this that we aren't able to gather on our own. It's really important to have, for example, an inspector come through. If you're planning on having renovations and upgrades done, it's really important to have the contractor come through before you firm up the deal and find yourself purchasing the property. There's also such thing as getting a bad appraisal, and I really want to mention in this section that if you get an appraisal from the bank, it is not a be-all end-all. First of all, gone are the days that they send appraisers out to the property. That does happen sometimes, but mostly it's all done virtual and electronic. I've seen it so many times where the right appraisal comes on the second, third, even fourth attempt at the appraiser doing it after the agent's feedback. So this is critical. Number 3 is going to be learning way too late about the property's defects. That's definitely not something that you want to be taken by surprise by. So many times we see renovations and upgrades done without proper permits and without following the Planning Act, and walls get taken down and reconstructed without making sure that they're foundational, etc., etc. So you can only imagine the kind of things that people do in the comfort of their own home, but then it comes time to sell it to someone else, and nobody's ever going to know that these things ever took place. So you got to be really careful. Like I mentioned before, an inspection is going to be probably your best friend with respect to these things, but also sometimes it's not enough because that's a very general overview. If you have suspicions that the electrical or the plumbing or the HVAC or anything substantial about the house needs some sort of large investment after you buy it, it might be worth bringing that professional in. If you think it's the electrical system, for example, bring in a qualified electrician who's going to run some tests, diagnose it, and just make sure that you're not getting yourself into anything troublesome. The next one is going to be not knowing about your closing costs, and this is so crucial because a lot of people don't know just how much land transfer tax tax is. On a $1 million+ house, you're not paying land transfer tax of less than $30,000, and that's lump sum at closing, and that does not go into your down payment or anything else. And that also doesn't cover legal fees, adjustments, so many things. So it's really important you know that. Also, the municipality of Toronto has a double land transfer tax. It has a federal and a provincial one, and it's quite literally double. It just takes the federal one, multiplies it by 2, and that's your actual land transfer tax. Now, if you're a first-time home buyer, you do have some credits and rebates available to you. Make sure that you ask your lawyer, realtor, accountant, anybody who's in the know about these things, and you'll know how much money you can save. I'd be happy to address it in a future video. In general, you want to be conservative with your closing costs outlook between legal fees, title insurance, land transfer tax, and all the extra additional things that you need on closing. 1 to 1.5% of the purchase price is a conservative estimate. We're on to the last point of the video, so if you're still here, thank you so much for watching. If you could hit the like button, I'd appreciate it forever. It really helps us to organically slowly grow. And the last point is going to be bad paperwork. So this is a really bad one. If you don't have the right conditions and protections, then the liability falls on you. This is a really large purchase, so any way that you can make sure that the paperwork benefits and protects you is going to be really advantageous and important. What do I mean by conditions? For example, making it conditional on getting approved for financing before you move ahead. This way, your bank or mortgage broker can make sure that you have the approval before you lock yourself into anything. Same thing, conditional on inspection. Sometimes you also even want it conditional on selling your own property. Or maybe you want a condition that your lawyer is going to review every term in the agreement and make sure that everything is kosher before moving on. Also, there are things like escape clauses that you can make sure that if something goes sour on the seller side, you can get out with no penalty. You can put in all sorts of things that make your life easier, whatever the circumstances might be. It's one thing if the sellers don't want to work with your offer because you were too picky and you asked for too much, but I'd rather ask for too much and be rejected than ask for too little and be accepted right away, because then we didn't even try. So make sure that your agent at the very minimum puts this stuff in when you're presenting the offer initially, and then if the sellers reject it, you can always take that risk factor into account and still see if you want to proceed, but it's better than not ever having tried. Guys, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching. You have no idea how much it means to me. I really hope that it was useful and helpful, and watch more of our stuff here. And that's it. Peace!